probably change some of the modules to accommodate the new things coming from OSHA. All right. Ethics, different people look at it a different way. There are, definitions from Wikipedia and other sources. It talks about morality, manners of the character, proper behavior of people, that sort of things. Oh, let me ask you, what do you think is ethics?
Do what's morally right.
Do what is morally right. Okay? Anyone else?
It goes into there, but it also has to do with the culture, with the time.
Right.
It's just not black and white.
Exactly.
What to be morally ethical for, or ethical, morality and ethics have nothing, they're not the same. Or they're
related, but
they're
not
related,
the same.
but they're
Yes.
not,
Not
you
the
cannot
same.
say that ethic is moral.
Right. Now, the problem, as you said, the different cultures have different moral principles, right?
In customs.
In customs. So that will bring, the right thing to do from a different perspective, depending on what area, what is your background. So this addresses questions about morality. What is the right thing to do under certain circumstances. To make it a little bit more clear and understandable for professionals, most of professionals groups have their own code of conduct or their own code of ethics. So we're going to look at some of those. In particular, this Construction Management Association of America, they have a code of conduct that they ask their members to abide by. So, can somebody please read item number 1?
Client service. I will serve my clients with honesty, integrity, candor, and objectivity. I will provide my services with competence using reasonable care, skill, and diligence consistent with the interest of my client and the applicable standards of care.
Very good, thank you. What does that mean?
Service-oriented.
Service-oriented, okay. The keywords here, what do you think are the keywords?
Using reasonable care, skill, and diligence.
Okay,
Consistent.
good. Someone else?
Integrity.
Integrity, okay, good. For me, see, the word that comes up is competence. It means that you will know what you're doing, that you're not posting yourself as someone who's not, that have the skills or the capacity to do something when you actually do not have it, right? So when you do that to a client, you're trying to cheating. You're trying to get a job that you're not actually qualified for. And that goes down also to number 2. Can someone please read number 2?
I will only accept assignments for which I qualify by my education, training, and professional experience and technical competence. Again, and I will assign staff to projects in accordance with their qualifications and commensurate with the services to be provided. I will only make representations concerning my qualifications and ability which are truth and accurate.
Very good. So what does that mean?
That you would only do what you know what to do. I
Right,
guess.
and you would not misrepresent your knowledge or your potential, your characteristics. There was a case not long ago, I think it was Yahoo, that had a CEO and was fired because some of the facts in the CV were not real. And to get up there, I mean, you have to go through a pretty good screening process, right? And then, well, it was found that some things were not true, so person got fired. Can someone please read number 3, standards of practice?
I will
Okay, go ahead.
I will furnish my services in a manner consistent with the established and accepted standards of the profession, and with the laws and regulations which govern its practice.
Okay, and what does that mean? Abide by the law, right? So you want to be knowledgeable about the laws and regulations and stick to them. Fair competition. Who wants to read that?
I will represent my project experience accurately to my prospective clients and offer services and staff that I am capable of delivering. I will develop my professional reputation on the basis of my direct experience and service provided, and I will only engage in fair competition for assignments.
Very good. What is an example of unfair competition? Can someone give one?
Are you referencing the construction side? The
Yeah, from
bidding
the
side?
construction side.
I mean, unfair competition is when you're, you have some kind of information that others don't. You use it to gain an edge.
To get an edge, okay? Okay, well,
Yeah,
so it depends on how that can be okay and cannot be, right? Depending on what it is. Well, information, okay. Because you could have a skill or a knowledge that makes your company different from the rest. And that's good, right? That makes you a better choice for the client.
Again, I was more thinking on a bidding basis. It's you know, a bid build project. Excuse me, on a design build project.
Okay.
And you're all going in with submitting an RFP.
Mm-hmm.
The guidelines are set to submit that RFP, and if you have some knowledge that the other contractors / designers don't have, you know, it could give you a competitive edge a little bit. And I don't know whether that's fair or not. It seems unfair.
Okay. Well, the concept is that, you know, people will try to build advantages by probably getting together 2 or 3 companies and say, well, let's, you know, pick up a strategy where we lower the price here, make it up here, so we look more attractive than somebody else, and then, you know, the reality is that you're probably charging more in other aspects, but the client, you know, cannot easily see that. That could be a way. I think when you have a company that is that has a skill that is unique in the business, it's definitely an advantage. But I don't see that as being unethical. I see that as being technically prepared, you know, or it's like when you're gonna get a job. You have a master's degree, the guy next to you does not. Gives you an advantage. Is that unethical? No. Certainly not. You have better education. You're better qualified for the job. So, in that case, I don't think there is an ethical problem. Conflict of interest. That may be easier. Somebody can read that?
That one is easy for me.
Okay.
Okay. I will endeavor to avoid conflicts of interest, and I will disclose conflicts which, in my opinion, may impair my objectivity or integrity.
Okay, so what does that mean? Give us an example.
I believe sometimes is if the company instead work for maybe the interest of the whole project, start getting in some way I don't know, getting another, maybe personals, I don't know. Maybe it's trying to get maybe personal interest instead for the company. Could be.
Okay, some persons within the company are looking at their own interests and not the company. Yeah, that could be. Anyone else has a point on that? A conflict of interest? How about when, oh, go ahead.
For instance, if you work at a bank and you're a personal banker and you open up accounts, they don't want you opening up your family's accounts. Because they don't want you, that's a conflict of interest. You shouldn't be managing your family's money within your own bank.
Okay, that's interesting. Very good. How about the case when we have a decision maker in the, let's say, in a public institute, but he also or she also has a company that does some business, and when they're requesting proposals and deciding who will get the job, obviously that person have an interest that the company that they have or they own will get the job. So that's a conflict of interest. That person should not be considering that company because there is a conflict. Clearly will be interested in getting the job for that company, and there will be, you know, it will not be an objective decision. Fair compensation. Who wants to read that one?
I will negotiate fairly and openly with my clients in establishing a basis for compensation, and I will charge fees and expenses that are reasonable and commensurate with the services to be provided and the responsibilities and risks to be assumed.
Okay, thank you. So, who wants to talk a little bit about that? What does that mean?
Charge a fair market value.
Yeah. Now, that brings up also another problem. What is a fair market value? How much something costs? What do you think?
Depends on your need. I think that would come more into play like when you have change orders. Because obviously if you don't give a fair market price, you're not going to get the job.
Okay.
But now when there's changes throughout the job, you want to negotiate fairly. You don't want to say, hey, Fari, I know you're in a bind and I know you need to pass your inspection, so I'm going to charge you 3 times what I usually charge.
Mm-hmm. There you go. That's good. That's good. Excellent example. All right. Release of information. Who wants to read that?
I will only make statements that are truthful, and I will keep information and records confidential when appropriate and protect the propriety interest of my clients and professional colleagues.
What do you think about that?
Misrepresenting your company.
Yeah, that's true. I also have an example. This happened to me a long time ago. I was bidding on a project. It was the automation of a cooling tower, and so I wanted to get that job really bad. So I overdid the pre-bid, the pre-construction engineering. I did the whole engineering project basically, and turned out to the client with my quote. Well, guess what? They took that, gave it to our competitor, and say, "Hey, price this up." And the guy, they beat me on the price. So I lost the project, and they did my design. So, I think in that case, the owner was not truthful and maintained confidential records. That was one example. Anyone has another example similar, or have any idea of? How about when you get quotes from different vendors and then you start moving that number around so everybody starts learning what the lowest bid is and so on? That's also, you're taking confidential information given to you and you're passing that along other companies. Sometimes to companies that you have some sort of a relationship. I attended a seminar once before about it was teaching mechanical equipment, and then the guy said that he had a client who would call him before the bid was due and ask him for a bulk price. You know, what is about your number? You know, how much? Just I need, you know, for budget purposes and so on and so forth. So he would give the price, and another company would beat that price every time. So by the third time, the guy said, "Oh, okay, I know your game now." So he had, you know, another bid coming in, and he took one equipment out of that bid. It was, I don't know, on a 500,000 bid, let's say 100,000. So it was a significant amount of money. And the guy said, "Are you sure?" "Oh yeah, that's fine." You know, and then the guy called again, "Are you sure that's the price?" No, actually I made a mistake. It's $150 less. Yeah. Wow, that cannot be. Yeah. So when the bid came, they put their bid for 500,000, and the guy said, "Hey, what happened here? You told me, you know, almost 350." "Well, yeah, I forgot an equipment. You know, my secretary, she didn't put the all information together." And there was a company who bid for 350. So they were almost out of a business because there was no way that job could have been done, you know, for that amount. It was like, okay, you want to play with me? Let me play with you a little bit. So in that case, I mean, both of them are being unfair and are not being really ethical. So think about that. Do you want to be in that position, or do you want to do business with somebody that treats you that way?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely, right? So you do really want to take this, you know, concept of doing the right thing and being professional, truthful, and confidential seriously. Okay, public welfare. Who wants to read that?
I will not discriminate in the performance of my services on the basis of race, religion, national origin, age, disability, or sexual orientation. I will not knowingly violate any law, statute, or regulation in the performance of my professional services.
Okay. Any examples of that? What does that mean? Have anyone felt in any way discriminated at some point? I can tell you about a student of mine. We had a site visit to a company, and I'm not going to say what company it was. But this was a lady, so she approached the superintendent and asked, you know, "Do you guys have any internship or any job opportunities?" And the guy said, "Oh, we won't hire women here." Man, I mean, come on. That's not the way to answer. Even if that's the point, you can't just say, "Well, we won't hire women." That's discrimination, right? You have to say, okay, why you are not, you know, able to work here. I mean, there should be many jobs. And the most stupid thing of all is that the company next to them, they did hire women, and they do the same thing. So, you know, it's a case of discrimination, and that happens a lot. Unfortunately, that happens a lot, especially in construction. I think there is a male mentality where women get discriminated. I don't know. Do you have any comments about that?
Yeah, actually,
It's true.
I work in a place, should remain nameless. There was an engineer there, and
Cover your shirt. Cover your shirt.
No. It's not the wedding. Actually, we have a lot. Actually, right now they hire 6 girls. And for some reason, this guy, every time, he never thought that women engineers were good. And the other day I'm having a conversation with him. He's gone. He's got another business. And we talk about this lady, and she goes, "Oh yeah, like, wow, she's a good engineer. And actually she's an excellent structural engineer." And probably got her company's butt out of the ring because she did her excellent job doing construction. But he could never say anything or look at it that women were as smart or smarter than many of us.
Yeah, it does happen. I've had the experience both ways. I mean, I went to the Moss job site the other day, and Sherry was the superintendent. She's a woman, really strong woman. I mean, you don't mess with her, and she knows what she's doing. I mean, it's really, really good superintendent and is doing a great job. But I've seen that. I've seen people who've been a little bit uncomfortable in interviews. You know, I have another student of mine went to a job interview, and the guy was asking, well, but do you think you can put some boots and walk to a job site? I mean, you seem to be wearing, you know, high heels. Well, I'm in an interview, right? I don't wear steel boots to an interview. You know, so you know, make that person uncomfortable. And also, you know, some of these questions are really actually illegal to make in an interview. I had when we were hiring a faculty member at FIU, we had a person who's an expert in these kind of issues. She came to us and she gave us, you know, a little talk about that, and she said, well, you can't ask people what's your religion and then say, well, I'm not going to hire you because of that. You can ask, however, this job requires Saturday work. Are you able to come here on Saturday? And if the person says no, then, well, okay, then you can't. But you can't ask, you know, what is your particular religion? Do you have an issue coming in? That's discriminating, yeah.
That's the kind of, you know, I was, like, I have a need for inspectors on some of the jobs that I'm doing. But, you know, my work is you perform the inspection for, say, the reinforcement for a slab. Mm-hmm. Now, the truck is coming in an hour to pour the slab, and I got to take a concrete sample of that concrete.
Right.
So it's very inefficient for me to have two different people go out and do that work. Very easy for me to have the inspector do the inspection and then stick around for another half hour and just collect the concrete sample and then go.
Yeah.
So, you know, there was a woman who interviewed for the position, and that's what I had to basically ask, you know, tell her that this job requires inspections, which is great. You have engineering degree, you can go out there, perform inspections under the supervision of a PE, no problem. But you're also going to have to grab a wheelbarrow, collect the concrete sample, and you know, get your feet dirty, get your hands dirty, because that's the nature of the work. Mm-hmm. Basically, I have to hire her if she's willing to take that job. I can't say, no, you know, it's going to get too heavy for you, or it's going to get...
If she says, yes, I can, then...
She says, yes, I can, and I got no other people. Maybe I got 2 or 3 other people who interviewed, but there's no reason for me to actually say no. Now the only thing is just waiting to see in that interim period whether the work was being done on time. And if it's done on time, then, you know, I feel she might end up becoming one of those women on the job sites, which has gotten her feet dirty. She's an inspector. Eventually she'll be the PE supervising other inspectors, but she's gotten her boots dirty on the ground as well, just like anybody else. So
very good.
It's, you know, it's an interesting position there where you got to try to, and we never had that. Mm-hmm. Never was in a position before of having to actually interview a woman for that position.
Yeah.
It would always be men. So it was kind of awkward to try to sit there and try to catch myself from saying something that might be
inappropriate. Yeah, exactly. Very good. Very good. Excellent. Any other comments? Anyone else? All right. Very good. Professional development. Who wants to read that one? Okay.
Professional development. I will continue to develop my professional knowledge and competency as a construction manager, and I will contribute to the advancement of the construction and program management practice as a profession by fostering research and education and through the encouragement of fellow practitioners.
Very good. So what does that mean?
Some licenses require you to have continuing education credits, or you can get together, like in the safety world, there's ASSE or AGC meetings where you get together with all the safety directors, all the major companies, and you share ideas, and you know, like they said, you foster research and education on how you're going to make your industry better.
What you guys are doing right here, right? You're increasing your education. You're getting, you know, better. You're getting a better education, and then do a better job on the side. So that's great. You guys are doing the right thing, yeah? Very good. Feels good, yeah? All right. Integrity of a profession. Who wants to read the number 10? Read it out loud.
Integrity of the profession. I will avoid actions which promote my own self-interest at the expense of the profession, and I will uphold the standards of the construction management profession with honor and dignity.
Very good. All right. Any comment on that one? Anyone can bring in? Hmm?
Maybe defining self-interest. We all work for ourselves.
Yeah, but not at the expense of the profession.
Okay, that's it.
Right.
Oh, but I do. I mean, I work construction management, and I use it to earn money.
Right.
Yeah, but you're maintaining that integrity within your...
Oh, I never, oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
It's they uphold the standards of the construction management profession, which comes into, which means, you know, be true to all 9 previous points, right? Actually, when you graduate the construction management and you do the order of the constructor, you're asked to read out loud that you will be, you know, honest and professional in the execution of your career. All right. Besides the construction management rules of conduct, also the PMI, that's the Project Management Institute, has a similar ethical code. So here's the code of ethics of the PMI. It's very similar. Here we go. Responsibility. Practitioners would make decisions and take actions on the best interest of society, public safety, and environment. So we will only accept those assignments that are consistent with our background, experience, skills, and qualifications. Sounds similar, right? So it looks very similar to the previous one. They may have some slightly different, but pretty much they cover about the same aspects. Mandatory standards. We will negotiate in good faith. We will respect the property rights of others. So we're seeing about the same code of conduct as before. Honesty. We will be truthful in our communications and in our conduct. Provide accurate information in a timely manner. Then there is the Association for the Advancement of Cost Engineering. They also have a canon of ethics that it's broken down into 4 subdivisions: relations with public, with employers and clients, with other professionals. And this is also very similar to what we have before. And this is the order of the constructor. Being formally inducted into the order, I pledge to maintain the highest standards of professional conduct, protect the public safety and welfare in all professional activities, and promote the advancement of the construction industry. So that's an example of what will be asked from you when you graduate, if you decide to go and do the order of the constructor.
What is the order of the constructor?
Are you familiar with the order of the engineer? It's different societies have like a small recognition during the graduation. So the order of the engineer is the one that I'm most familiar with. They took, somebody decided to recognize the importance of engineering. So at that time there was an airplane that crashed. So they took steel from the airplane and made some rings. So then they started giving the graduates in engineering that ring. So it would be put on the small finger on their working hand to remind her that the importance of doing a good engineering work, people's lives at risk, and so on. So then FIU also started a tradition of creating the order of the constructor. And that's, they ask, okay, who are the construction management here? So they will stand up, they will read this pledge, and they will receive a small bag, for recognition. And I think a hard hat also, rather than a ring. Okay. So that's the order of the construction. All right. Very good. So now we've talked about these standards, the codes of ethics. What is the ethical choice. How do we know when we're facing one particular situation if we are going to act, ethically or not? Well, there's some tests, and these are kind of interesting. One of them is the morning after test. Okay, if you make this choice, how would you feel about it tomorrow morning? Tricky, huh? Let's make some ideas that may not be related to construction. Stick with the topic at hand here. If you make this decision, if you give this job to that person, or if you decide to, give this project to this company, how would you feel about it more? Or, sometimes it's about cost. Let's reduce the cost here a little bit. Let's take some of that steel out. You don't really need 3 tons of the steel. And then that may be a problem. Right? Apply the front test page. If this decision and the consequences appear in tomorrow news for everyone to see, how will you feel about it? And we're talking about your mom, your parents, your sons or daughters. How would you feel about it? Did you make the right decision? Will they be proud of what you did?
That's a real tough one though, because you have some newspapers that just don't follow proper standards either.
Right. Yeah. Well, assuming that in this case the real truth is going to come out. Beautiful or ugly? It will come
Usually
out.
ugly.
Usually ugly.
Beautiful and never comes out.
I tell that to my crews. I was like, I don't want to end up on Channel 5 News.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that's what they're like, well, I want to do this, boss. And I'm like, no, because we're going to end up on the news that way. So I use that as a distractor because you definitely don't want that to happen.
Right. Very good. Very good. The mirror test. If you make this choice, how would you feel about yourself when looking in the mirror? Have you ever had the chance that, that you do something and then you think, how could I have done that? I mean, that's not me. What I was thinking. Then that probably you make a decision that was not in line with the proper behavior in whatever you were doing, right? Happens. The role reversal test. If you make this choice, how would you feel about it if you were the one affected by this decision? If that's down to you, then what?
I think that's the one that most people struggle to do.
Yeah.
When they make decisions, yeah. Because they're looking at everybody's got an agenda, and they wanna push something through, but usually you have to wait for the dominoes to fall out for that person to actually realize, that was because of their decision. It's very hard for somebody going into a situation to say, you know what, let me put myself in their position and let me manage it that way. Because usually you just fire off the barrel, and then after you're like, oh, yeah.
Look at what happened, right? Yeah. Very good. So hopefully this will give you some tools to make better decisions in the future. The common sense test. I love this one. If you think this decision is wrong, it probably is. If there's something in you that tells you, this doesn't look too good, there's something wrong over there. And you can also, of course, look at these 3 questions. Is it legal? If it's not legal, then it's not ethical. That's for sure. Now, there are things that are unethical that are not illegal. Right? Any example? bid shopping.
That's what I was thinking.
That's what we were thinking, right? And that is it's a serious deal in construction, and it happens. I don't know if all the time, but it does happen a lot, and you have to be really careful in how you handle it. Everybody knows what bid shopping is. Can you explain that a little bit?
In a hard bid situation, you get a bid. You're the qualified low bidder, and you use some subcontractor's number to get that bid. You're the low bidder. You've been awarded the job, then you go right behind and start shopping that
price to
out.
see how that gets beaten down.
To gain more profits in your bid.
Or yeah, exactly. So you take several quotes and then you start telling people, we have a lower quote here. You try to push everybody down on their numbers. The right thing to do is to look at the scope of work, and then if you see somebody that has a price, that it's not really, what you expected, then look at the scope of work. Have they included everything? And then say, well, you're missing this part, or you don't stay quiet and say, hey, when you sign this, I'm gonna own you. That's not the right attitude. All right. The 5 P's of ethical power: purpose, pride, patience, persistence, perspective. Purpose says people see themselves as an ethical people who let their conscience be their guide, and in all cases, they want to feel good about themselves. And I think this is true. At least for me, I want to feel good about the decisions that I make. Not that I do all the times, but I try to. I don't think people want to be bad at their core. Although I can see some people that I don't know, maybe. So that's purpose. People think they're of themselves as ethical persons. Pride. Individuals apply internal guidelines and have sufficient self-esteem to make decisions that may not be popular with others. What do you think? Can you make a decision that may not be popular with others, but you know is the right thing to do? Yeah, and safety you have to, right? There's no way around it. But, patience. Individuals believe right will prevail in the long run, and they are willing to wait when necessary. What do you think about that?
That's a tough one in our industry, to maintain that patience.
Yeah?
Because wait means money.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look at them, all of those have their tough aspect. I find this one particularly tough. You know the right decision is not the popular one, and you still, you stick to it. I had a discussion in more than one, but one that I can remember not too long ago. There was I don't know if I should explain the whole thing. There was an issue in one of our faculty meetings where I didn't agree, and everybody else said that's not a big deal, and then to me it was. So I said, no, I'm not going to do it, and I don't think any one of you should do that. And I was the odd guy there, but I really felt that we were doing something wrong. It's a good thing that afterwards it was not necessary to do so. Everybody felt okay, but it was awkward. I'm sitting over there with colleagues who, we all have the same level. We all, have the same principles, and for me, that was clearly something we shouldn't do. And everybody else was, what's wrong with this guy? So that's strange.
Patience is difficult because you can be ethical in construction, but you don't have to be ethical in your contracts. And if you're an ethical person, you're patient, and you think the good's going to prevail, the right doesn't always prevail. Change orders or pay-when-pay clauses, you can be patient, but it doesn't necessarily mean the right's going to always win.
You get to evaluate. I didn't get that you can be. You can be ethical, but then not when you're doing a
Contracts aren't necessarily ethical. You don't have to be an ethical in a contract. And you
Illegal.
can be an ethical person, but you might, I guess you don't have to be forced to sign, but depending on the economic situation you might be forced to sign on to a contract that has unethical clauses in it, such as paid when paid, or change order, notice
I see what you're
requirements,
saying,
and you were told verbally by a handshake that, hey, go ahead and do this change order,
Yeah.
and we'll go. That's, as an ethical person, you say, okay, I'll do it. You told me you'll pay me, I'm telling you I'll do it, and then it doesn't necessarily.
I see your point. Very, very good point. Very well taken. Yes, I agree with that 100%. Actually, I was working for a company in Maryland, and when I got there, they had this big issue. The project manager in one of the jobs, the customer would ask, hey, can you guys do this and that and the other thing? And I said, yeah, sure, we can. So he would do the job without a change order. By the end of the job, they had like $1 million in change orders that the client never signed. And then the client said, hey, wait a minute, but you never told me this was going to cost any extra. I asked you, can you do it? You said yes, and you did it. Nobody asked for money here. And, that was a big problem. I mean, you're talking about $1 million. It's not a small change, So, what do you do? Some people you may think the customer was in good faith, asking, can you do it? The guy said yes, they did it. Not my problem. Or he may know, that costs money, and this guy's an idiot. I'm gonna squeeze him as much as I can. Is that ethical? Is that not? I mean, gray area, right?
Well, ethics is gray.
All right, and that's when at the end you have to resort to court, right, and then see what happens, and not bribe will prevent. Even if you have 10 people looking at the issue and deciding if you're right or not. You know a lot about that, right, Anna?
Yeah.
The court aspect of it.
Oh yeah, with my job and stuff.
I'm sorry.
I think the ultimate patience would be if the court doesn't even go with you, then all you have is God.
Yeah.
All right, I'll wait till judgment.
Exactly. I'll see you judgment day.
Then you have no choice but to be patient.
That reminds me, a joke that a priest said one day. He's in church and he's asking, who wants to go to heaven? Yeah, I want to. Who wants to go to heaven? Yeah, I want to. Stand up, all those who want to go to heaven. Everybody stands up except one guy that's still going. No, you want to go to heaven? He said, only if you're living right now. Anyway. Persistence. Individuals are willing to stay with an ethical course of action once it has been chosen, and to see it through to a positive conclusion. That, in my case, it has to do a lot with doing something that may not be the popular decision. I was tough about my decision. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And I was kind of persistent with that. Any comments? Anyone of you have experienced something similar? Perspective. Individuals take time to reflect and are guided by their own internal barometer when making ethical decisions. So you have your own concept of what is the right thing to do, and you kind of go with it. All right. So in construction, you want to identify what is and what is not ethical. Try to do what is ethical. Set an example for other people, for your peers. You want to be a company that is known as a very ethical and always do the right thing kind of company, and not a company that it's out there just to get people. And it's strange, but I've heard, you know, stories where people talked about a certain company, and it's well known for being an abusive company, and people try to avoid them like the plague. You know, I say, well, I will work with them because I need the money, but not because I like it or because I, you know, enjoy it. Any one of you have that kind of problem? No? Follow through and undertake the ethical option. Help employees to make the right decision. Set an example. You know, it really, I think it feels good when somebody comes to you with an ethical problem because they consider you a person of ethical character, and you know, you try to help them. Yeah, like what's the solution on question B? Yeah, I'm not gonna tell you. Okay, approaches to behave ethically. The best ratio approach: do everything possible to create conditions that promote ethical behavior and try to maintain the highest possible ratio of good choices to bad choices. Well, you know, sometimes you will make a bad decision, hopefully not knowing it's a bad decision to begin with, right? But later on you find out, well, oops, you know, that's understandable. But doing a decision that you know is not the right thing to do. Why would you make a decision that is not the right thing to do?
Money.
Money. That's what I was thinking. Money. So you sold yourself for that amount.
Schedule.
Schedule. Yeah. Problem is that you know, oftentimes people think, well, nothing's going to happen, right? So what's the big deal? I can go away with it. Huh? That's how really bad things happen. You start with something small and say, well, you know, I can get away from that. You know, it's not a big deal. Then the next thing is not a big deal either. Not the next thing, not the next thing, but pretty soon you're in jail. Decide the choice that results in the most good for most people. So, well, if somebody has to, you know, suffer, then let's try that to make the least amount possible. I don't know. That probably is a decision that has more to do with the government, you know, than to construction companies. But I don't know. Does anyone has a situation like that in their company, where you have a decision to make that's going to affect somebody, you know? So try to spread the bad news in the smallest possible group. I don't know.
There's a situation going on right now in Dade County.
Okay.
The Rickenbacker Bridge is getting
modified.
They're putting it out to bid. It has problems. It has structural problems. The whole government scenario has decided to put out a bid wherein the superstructure of the bridge is going to get modified only. They're going to use the existing foundations and install adjacent foundations to widen the bridge. As an engineer, you know that's not the right thing to do. The government should know that because they're getting assessed by engineers within, you know, Dade County. But because there's lack of funds, they're going to proceed this way.
Politics.
I mean, and politics. To me, that is just asinine. Because you know the lifespan of that bridge is not going to, you know, meet its goal. Purely because of the fact that they're going to go ahead and widen this bridge using existing foundations that have problems and are identified, and add new, you know, foundations to widen it. To me, what should happen is
Plus a
they-
scheduled time, and it's asinine too, because just they wanted to do it in less time, and even Army Corps, let's say, they already said you're not going to have the permits, but they're holding they want to hold the contractor accountable if they don't finish on time. So there's a lot of people that have withdrawn from it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we as a company, we're bridge builders, we withdrew immediately.
Yeah.
Just And those are kind of things that really set a bad taste in general contractors' mouth with how the county handles their contracts.
The bridge is a problem, but they're, you know, the parameters they have set to replace it. They wanted, let's say, actually it's about a year from now.
Yeah.
Because we're having the Lipton this week.
Yeah.
And it needs to be started right in a week or two.
Yes, sir.
And have to be finished completely by this same time next year. And it is impossible. I think the permits are going to be about what, 8-9 months at least.
There's so many conflicts going on in that, and again, like Miguel said, the politics involved in it, because you got some major players here in Key Biscayne.
Yeah, right.
But the bottom line is that you can start the bridge, but you're not going to finish it.
Or you're not going to give them, you're not going to give the public what they should have.
Tough, huh?
Tough. Real tough.
Interesting. Alright. So what's the right thing to do? Withdraw.
Well, we opted to withdraw because the only thing that it would do to us is put us in a position where you're going to compromise your ways of doing business, your ethics.
Exactly.
I mean, why build a bridge that you know is going to fail 40 years down the line? When you're building a bridge that have a 70, 80 year lifespan.
Mm-hmm. I
Well,
agree with you.
you're bound for a lot of liquidated damages.
That's it.
The liability is even greater than.
Yeah.
And
What
then-
happens when that bridge collapses and people die there, right?
Well, if you're going to be unethical, you're going to say, well, if it happens in 40 years from now, definitely I won't be here. And that's the approach that many people might take. But then you have the next thing, which is the short term also, which is if you don't finish, the liquidated damages are so high,
Mm-hmm.
and you know from the beginning that you're going to be on liquidated damages.
Right. So why?
Why go on both ways?
Yeah. We looked at that too, and what we decided to do is we analyzed it. And we put liquidated damages into the bid.
Yeah,
Right.
And then your price shot up. So, I mean, why even go that route?
Yeah, you're not going to win, so why even waste any money?
Right.
I mean, it's, what, 3 or 4 already dropped?
Yeah, I mean,
I think we're dropping.
it's a design-build project, for one. So you started out as a constructor with an engineering firm, such as TYL, and you go through a process of spending a considerable amount of money to get yourself in a position to bid, and you spend that money knowing that, well, we're going to drop it now.
Yeah. Well, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, but I think they cut your losses short.
Ultimately, it's a gain. Spend money to
But it's unethical to even try to.
To me, that's unethical. The way the county's handling this is really unethical.
Very good. Excellent example. Thanks for sharing. Very good. Very good. Another approach is the black and white approach. Right is right, wrong is wrong, and the circumstances are irrelevant. This is wrong. It's plain wrong. So I don't care, if it's the county who's saying you should do it, it's wrong, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to get involved. It's kind of the process that you're taking. Full potential approach. Make decisions based on the outcome, how the outcome affects the ability of others to achieve their full potential. Now, with safety and construction, we have a couple of ethics issues, right? The whistleblowing is the act of informing an outside authority or media organ of alleged illegal or unethical acts on the part of an organization or individual. And in safety, it's about informing an outside authority about a safety hazard that does not want to be addressed in a company and from the perspective of an individual. The problem is that even when illegal or unethical practice in question threatens the safety and health of employees, some people still do not like to be whistleblowers. They don't want to be the one that says, hey, something's wrong here. They are afraid of retaliation also. Right? If I say something, I'm going to get fired. So that's an issue. And some people, from child, they said, don't be the tattletale or the one that tells others are doing the wrong thing. So it's kind of a mindset. What do you think about that?
I think that many people are more concerned with the name you're going to get if you go in and squeal on the other thing.
Right.
And that's the word they're going to use. You were squealing on somebody.
Uh-huh.
It's not so much that you're protecting your rights. And also sometimes nothing happens. So they're saying, why am I?
Why make a big deal of something that may not?
I mean, they don't see the potential until, of course, unfortunately for many cases, in this case with safety, somebody dies.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then things look different.
And then they go.
Oh. Then things look different. Exactly right. That's when things change a lot from one perspective to another one. Yeah. And this interview that we have with this guest speaker from OSHA, she was saying that they do have, and they take this very seriously, when somebody calls and says, there is an issue at my job, there's a imminent danger or something that can cause serious injury to personnel. They take that seriously. They go to the site and they do a visit. And they also have a process in which if the company takes actions against the individual who brought that attention, they will take legal actions to protect the rights of that employee. Now, the funny thing is that she said, well, you may not want to go back to work over there anyway, but, we will protect you if you're being, unfairly treated, because of that.
As an employer, I have that's a very tricky situation. If I'm on a job site and I have one of my pipe layers call OSHA on me because he feels that his foreman is putting himself in an unfair situation, I would have an issue with that.
Yeah.
That he didn't come through us first.
Exactly. But they have to go through you first. They have to. They have to call the issue to your attention. They have to tell you, hey, this is unsafe. And you have to tell them, guess what? Get in that hole.
Yeah, that's different. That's a different situation. But if because we teach safety, and I still go to job sites where my foreman's in a 5-foot hole. Oh, it's only a 5-foot hole, boss. I didn't need to put a ladder in, and it's something we have to drill into them time and time again. But they called OSHA on me. That's a $10,000 fine. I'd be really pissed off.
Yeah, of course.
Because it's not something we try to instill. But I guess if it's something that came to the upper management and they blew them off, it's a different situation than there.
Right. Yeah. But normally they will have to bring the issue to your attention first. Yeah. And then you decide, well, I don't care, and then they go.
Does OSHA ask them that?
Yeah.
Like, can you bring this to the attention of your supervisor first, or will they just go ahead and act on that?
Well, I think there's two issues. One is having a site visit because there is a danger to the employees, and the other one is, well, I got fired because I called you guys. In the first case, they will go. They're not going to be asking, well, did you tell the guys, that there's a problem? They will go and they show up at the job site. And if they see there is a situation where people can die or get severely injured, then they will make a citation. So why did you have your employees over there in the first place? If what he's saying is not true, then there should not be an issue, right? And now, when they got fired and said, well, did you tell him before? I don't know. I guess they would answer the question. It says here, you have the right to a safe workplace. The Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970 was passed to prevent workers from being killed or seriously harmed at work. The law requires employers to provide their employees with working conditions that are free from dangers. The Act, which sets and enforces protective workplace safety and health standards. OSHA also provides information, training, and assistance. Workers may file a complaint to have an OSHA inspect their workplace if they believe that their employer is not following OSHA standards or that there are serious hazards. Contact us if you have questions or want to file a complaint. We'll keep your information confidential. We're here to help. So the contact us means you have several ways to make report to unsafe conditions. One of those is to call their OSHA number, 1-800-321-OSHA. There is a complaint form filed an OSHA 7 report online. And then, let's see, let's look at this. Here is the complaint form, where basically, let's see if I can, you have the complaint number, site address, management official, type of business, and then a description of the hazard, right? Has this condition been brought to the attention of employer, government agency? So here you tell, yeah, I did bring this to the attention of somebody. Indicate you desire, do not reveal my name to my employer, or my name may be revealed to the employer. So that can be filed as confidential or not. The undersigned believes that a violation of an occupational safety and health hazard exists, which is a job safety or health hazard at the establishment named on this form. And then you are employee representative, Federal Safety and Health Committee, or other. And there you go. That's how you file the complaint. Any questions? Any comments? You cannot be punished or discriminated against for using your OSHA rights. The OSHA Act protects workers who complain to their employer, OSHA, or other government agencies about unsafe or unhealthful working conditions in the workplace or environmental problems. You cannot be transferred, denied a raise, have your hours reduced, be fired, or punished in any other way because you used any right given to you under the OSHA Act. There is help available at the OSHA for whistleblowers. So they have their own site. Oops. I may have the wrong thing here. Let's see. If we go back to OSHA, here we have the whistleblower protection. Here, the whistleblower protection program. So the OSHA Act prohibits employers from discriminating against their employees for exercising their rights under the OSHA Act. These rights include filing an OSHA complaint, participating in an inspection, or talking to an inspector, seeking access to employer exposure and injury records, and raising a safety health complaint with the employer. So here we go. That's their whistleblower protection program. How to file a complaint, news, statutes. There's a bunch of information in this website that can, bring some more light. All right. So that's the end of the first section.